With DreamWorks Animation having been sold off to Universal Pictures back in 2016, their characters and properties are in relatively new hands. So it was only a matter of time before the new guard decided to tackle DreamWorks' most lucrative and most beloved franchise of them all, Shrek. The original Shrek was released in 2001 and marked a milestone for animation, really the first of its kind to go against the grain of the traditional fairy tale feature and be absolutely loaded with more adult, crude humour. While the film is now the 27th highest grossing animated film of all time, it originally peaked at number 2 and spawned an entire franchise. Shrek 2 would become the highest grossing animated film of all time in 2004, Shrek the Third became the 3rd in 2007, Shrek Forever After became the 7th in 2010, and spin-off Puss in Boots the 16th in 2011. While the placements of these movies on the charts has fluctuated drastically over the last 17 years, they all still remain within the top 50 of all time and helped the Shrek franchise become, at one point, the most successful animated franchise in box office history. There had always been talk of a 5th Shrek film, even as far back as 2001, where Jeffrey Katzenberg, then CEO of DreamWorks Animation, openly spoke about a 5-movie outline for the franchise. And ever since Shrek Forever After released in 2010, rumours of a 5th entry have swirled in trade papers, even though the movie was ultimately positioned as the final movie in the arc. But Hollywood will be Hollywood, and now it's finally been confirmed that under their new management, DreamWorks will be producing another Shrek feature, but it seems like instead of continuing their 17-year-old saga, they'll be starting with a fresh slate. That's right, our beloved Shrek is becoming the latest franchise to undergo a reboot, with a proposed new series set to be headed by Illumination Entertainment's Chris Meledandri. Meledandri is of course the mastermind behind Despicable Me, the debut film from Illumination, who are also owned by Universal, and the single animated franchise to succeed Shrek as the most successful animated franchise of all time at the box office. Speaking with Variety, Meledandri spoke of his plans for a new Shrek film and implied that the movie would be not simply yet another film in a series of sequels, implying that the movie would take a new direction and start with a fresh slate. However, despite this, Meledandri also mentions how he still wants to retain the original voice cast. So, does Shrek really need a fresh reboot? Should Universal instead focus on a 5th Shrek installment or just leave the property alone altogether? I mean, in a way, this does kind of make sense. Only this week I was sitting on an underground train in London, looking at an advertisement for the Shrek's Adventure attraction on South Bank, and thinking, wait, is Shrek even relevant anymore? While the first Shrek movie was an absolute revelation and a movie I watched easily 100 times as a kid, the following movies fluctuated in quality from alright to absolutely terrible. I began reminiscing on childhood memories of playing my Shrek DVD to death, dancing around my bedroom to the movie's awesome soundtrack, and also that time we watched the movie 5 times on school camp. The love that I had for Shrek was unrivaled by any other animated franchise at the time, except maybe Toy Story. And while I was there sitting on that train, I started to feel sad that the franchise had seemingly died a lackluster death. I've heard a lot of people complaining about this Shrek reboot, but I think it's nothing but a brilliant idea. I mean, animation more so than any other cinematic art form is simply ripe for reboots and new adaptations. I mean, Mickey Mouse has been the subject of numerous reboots and adaptations over his 90-year history. The Flintstones, at one time the most successful animated series ever, has also seen multiple reboots. And how many damn versions of Dragon Ball have there been over the years? Like 4 or 5? Sure, rebooting Shrek is obviously Universal's attempt at reviving a fledgling, once lucrative franchise to try and make a few more bucks, but I don't like to look at the negatives. I like to look at this as a chance for Universal to bring this franchise back to life for a new generation, and perhaps give those of us who grew up with the films another glimpse of the greatness that was the first movie. While the Shrek movies seem to get more and more watered down over the course of the years, losing a lot of that mature edge that made the first one so fresh, I have a great trust that Meledandri, who has brought an adult edge to his Illumination works, especially with Despicable Me, will be able to tackle the project perfectly. And bringing back that original voice cast, it just sounds sounds so perfect to me. Yes, it might seem a little bit weird that you'd reboot and start fresh with the same actors. I mean, you wouldn't reboot Spider-Man again with Andrew Garfield in a series of films unconnected to the Amazing Spider-Man ones, but animation is just such a flexible art form. Stories don't need to blend from one film to another in animation. I mean, it's great when they do, but at its very nature, this is an art form that allows for short story bursts that don't need to have any cause and effect. They don't need to hold ramifications from previous films, and they don't need to open up conflicts for those following. Yes, preferably, Shrek would be kept in his current continuity with 17 years worth of history at this stage, but maybe starting over is for the best. I just hope they don't change too much in regards to character designs. I still want this to feel very much like the Shrek we know and love, and I'm sure they do too. I am absolutely looking forward to whatever this movie ends up being. I'll be there day one, and I'm keeping the faith that Meledandri can bring Shrek back to his roots and help Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Antonio Banderas, and Cameron Diaz deliver their best performances for these characters in years. So with that, it's over to you guys. What are your thoughts on Shrek Rebooted? Do you love the idea? Do you despise it? Fire away in the comments below and let me know your thoughts. If this is your first time viewing one of my videos, you like what you've seen, you'd like to see more like this in the future, then please don't forget to hit that big old subscribe button up on your screen right now, and also hit that like button down below if you're feeling extra generous. Also, don't forget to check out my many social media accounts, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day.